Good morning, lovelies. A little while ago, I posted a video about my favorite cis male character tropes. So you know what that means! It's time to talk about the worst male character tropes in science fiction and fantasy. And boy, are they a doozy! Before we get started, remember to click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss another video. I post every Sunday, often with bonus videos on other days of the week. Number 1. Toxic men. Most of the other 9 tropes are subsets of this trope. Now don't get me wrong, toxic men or toxicity in men make for some really great villains. Or if you decide to make them a hero but you have a redemption arc where they go from toxic to healthy, that is amazing. And I'm going to want to read your book in the comments. But when toxic men are portrayed as heroes without such an arc, now we've got a problem. I went into great detail about this in my toxic masculinity video, so here is the rundown. The type of behavior in toxic masculinity or toxic men is when they are controlling, possessive, violent, they suppress all emotions besides rage, they're disrespectful to women, usually racist, and all those types of nasty BS, and I don't know why we are supposed to see that as in any way heroic. And when we do see it as heroic again and again and again all over our media, which we do, we start to see it as heroic, and that is just dangerous. Number 2, the romantic stalker. Guy sees girl. Guy falls in love or is intrigued by girl. Guy follows girl everywhere she goes, despite her numerous protests to not. Looking at you, Edward Cullen, Mr. I like to watch you while you sleep because it's fascinating and not at all creepy. This trope is often written by women, and I don't understand why. Like, seriously, why? The only reason I can come up with is that they're trying to romanticize persistence, but it just comes across as really creepy. Number 3, the overprotective boyfriend. There is a difference between protective and smothering. A protective person is going to be really concerned about the welfare, both emotional and physical, of the person that they care about. So, a personal example, I live in Minnesota. We've had a crazy couple of days of weather. I'm filming this on October 24th, and we had a bunch of flash snowstorms, and then it melted, and then we got cold again, and that creates super hazardous driving conditions. But I have to go to work, and my mom had to do errands, and my dad, who definitely fits the protective category, is making sure that we understand this is the first big snowstorm of the year, make sure you're careful. Remember, other drivers tend to be idiots, so watch, are your tires okay, that type of thing. He tried to convince us, especially my mom, to maybe don't, if you don't have to go out, maybe stay inside, but he didn't say forbid us from leaving, not like what the overprotective boyfriend / smotherer would do. The smotherer doesn't let his partner do anything without his explicit permission and or presence. You understand that she's an entire person capable of making her own decisions and having her own life, right? This guy is supposed to be written as adorably protective, if like my dad, although he sometimes comes across as annoying because we grew up in Minnesota, Dad, we know how to drive. But the smotherer is just emotional abuse. See again, Edward Cullen. Number 4, emotionally unstable. This guy expresses nothing but anger, which comes out in super violent bursts, often against those who care about him, but they put up with him anyway. They don't leave out of fear of being hit or controlled or even killed, and they really should. Why is this guy not in therapy? He is always angry, almost always toxic, and usually abusive. And instead, he's going on these super dangerous quests and putting himself through even more emotional and psychological abuse. It just doesn't make sense. These guys usually come with some sort of traumatic backstory designed to trick us into feeling bad for him. It might be a reason, but it's not an excuse. Number 5, the hero with the dead wife / family. The only reason he's doing this quest or adventure is because of revenge for his murdered loved one. This is a waste of a wife and family. I talked about this a little bit with the worst female character tropes video, the woman in the refrigerator, or in some instances, the family in the refrigerator. First of all, there are so many better ways to utilize that family and wife. And second of all, not every hero needs a traumatic backstory that involving the death of a woman, no less, in order to kick him into gear. He can do it because he wants to help the world, or maybe he is trying to protect his country, or something like that. Come on, let's not use a woman's death and pain to motivate a guy. Come on. This person also usually becomes a 90s style anti-hero. Speaking of which, number 6, the 90s style anti-hero. This style of anti-hero was super common in the 90s and is still kind of a thing today. He's the grizzled, emotionally distant, edgy person who murders everyone who looks at him wrong and don't play by anyone's rules. And why am I rooting for this guy? Seriously, he has no problem killing a bunch of people, even if they're relatively innocent, to achieve his goals. Call me basic, but I need heroes who are actually, heroic and not full-time murderers. This is why I could not get into Breaking Bad. Don't get me wrong, all the actors are great, the writing was great. I just couldn't root for any of the characters. And if I can't do that, I'm not gonna get more than partway through season 2, which is exactly what happened. Number 7, the alpha male, aka the sexy asshole with control issues. This archetype is based off of an inaccurate study of wolves in captivity whose entire social structure was screwed up by them being in captivity and in tight quarters with other wolves that they did not know. Stop ruining wolves with your sexist bullshit. Real wolf structures are family units where the leaders are usually parents who lead together to make sure that the pack prospers, rather than fighting every other wolf who looks at them funny. Give me that type of alpha male. If you want to write that type of alpha male, an accurate one, you're basically writing a dad, okay? Give me that. Number 8, the sex-crazed maniac. To borrow a phrase from one of my favorite author tubers, Jenna Moresi, the walking boner. All of his concerns center around his dick and who he can sleep with. Seriously, that's his arc. Does he not have any other hobbies? Puppeteering, perhaps. I've bitched about over-sexualized women before on these videos, but it turns out guys can do that too. Number 9, the Gary Stu. This is the male version of the Mary Sue. Now, Mary Sues as a whole, in and of themselves, tend to be boring. But what pisses me off about the Gary Stu specifically is that they're allowed to get away with it. Audiences love how this guy wins every fight, defeats every enemy, always gets the girl, always comes out on top, and needs little to no help from his supporting cast. But when it's a woman, they hate it. Either celebrate both or condemn both. I don't care which, just stop the sexist double standard. And number 10, the man who overcomes the friend zone. Or rather, he fuck zones a woman. What is fuck zoning? Well, let's say you got person A and person B. They've been friends for a very long time. Person A absolutely loves their friendship. She sees, and it's usually a woman, she sees person B as a brother. But person B wants to take the relationship to the next level. He wants sex and or a romantic relationship with person A. He proposes this, person A says thanks, but no thanks, I don't see you that way. And rather than say, accept her boundaries, maybe go away for a while to lick his emotional wounds and then come back later to restart their friendship, totally perfect, understandable reaction, he just keeps nagging her and nagging her and nagging her and nagging her about this until she either totally breaks off their friendship altogether, which is the healthier response, or gives in and finally has sex with them and starts therefore a very ill-advised romantic relationship with a man who apparently cannot take no for an answer. I hate this trope for a variety of reasons. Number 1, it devalues platonic friendships. Number 2, it pushes the idea that the only valuable relationship a man can have with a woman is if it ends in them having sex. This, of course, in turn contributes to the idea that women are only valuable for sex. Number 3, it passes off toxic, emotionally abusive behavior and possibly sexual assault as normal, even romantic. Number 4, it usually involves a poorly written romantic subplot. And number 5, it prioritizes the man's feeling over the woman's, because her desire to just keep the friendship as it is, a friendship, is always ignored or belittled or held as just not important when the guy wants to bang. That's all I've got. I am sure I've missed something, so please tell me your least favorite male character tropes in the comments. If you're pissed that I spent this whole video bitching about guys, First of all, why did you click on this video? Second of all, how did you make it to the end of this video? Congratulations on your endurance, I guess. And thirdly, I've also got a couple of videos on women that I've linked in the description, and I've also got a video on my favorite cis male character tropes. But if you did enjoy this video, thank you. Hit that like and click subscribe button so you don't miss next week's video. Bye, lovelies!